October 31st, 1941, South Dakota's Black Hills. After 14 years, 400 workers, and countless near-death experiences, something impossible is finally finished. 4 presidents, each 60 feet tall, stare out from a mountain. Some called it vandalism, others called it insane. Today, it's one of the most iconic images in America. Stick with me, because the story of how Mount Rushmore got built is absolutely wild. Let's go back to 1923. South Dakota historian Don Robinson has a problem. Nobody visits South Dakota. It's beautiful, sure, but tourists are driving right past on their way to Yellowstone or the Grand Canyon. So Robinson comes up with an idea that sounds completely bonkers. What if we carved giant sculptures into a mountain? Not just any sculptures, famous Western heroes. Sitting Bull, Lewis and Clark, Buffalo Bill. Robinson contacts sculptor Gutzon Borglum, who's already famous for carving a massive Confederate memorial into Stone Mountain in Georgia. Borglum looks at Robinson's idea and says, "I can do better. Not Western heroes. Presidents. The greatest presidents in American history. And we'll make them colossal." Robinson's thinking maybe 20 feet tall. Borglum? He's thinking 60 feet. Each head is as tall as a 6-story building. They pick Mount Rushmore because the granite is perfect, hard, smooth, and because it faces southeast, meaning maximum sunlight. On October 4th, 1927, the first blast of dynamite echoes through the Black Hills. Borglum has chosen his 4 presidents, George Washington for founding the nation, Thomas Jefferson for expanding it, Theodore Roosevelt for developing it, and Abraham Lincoln for preserving it. Here's what nobody tells you about Mount Rushmore. The workers are mostly miners and lumberjacks from the area, and they have to dangle from the side of a cliff on thin cables holding jackhammers and dynamite every single day for 14 years. Picture this. You're hanging 500 feet above the ground in a canvas seat attached to a steel cable. You're holding a 90-pound jackhammer. It's 100 degrees in summer, below freezing in winter. Your job? Carve a president's nostril or his eyebrow. One wrong move and you're falling to your death. And yet, miraculously, not a single worker dies during construction. Not one. The process is insane. First, they blast away tons of rock with dynamite, controlled explosions to remove the bulk of the granite. Then they use jackhammers to get closer to the final surface. Finally, they use a technique called honeycombing, drilling holes just inches apart, then chipping away the remaining rock to create a smooth surface. Washington's nose alone takes months to perfect. Gutzon Borglum is a perfectionist and kind of a demanding boss. He's constantly changing his mind, adjusting measurements, demanding precision. He uses a pointing machine, basically a giant protractor system, to scale up a 5-foot model to a 60-foot face. 1 inch on the model equals 1 foot on the mountain. The margin for error? Basically 0. The Great Depression hit. Funding dries up multiple times. Congress has to keep approving more money. Some people call it a waste, a monument to ego. Vandalism of a sacred mountain. The Lakota Sioux had considered these hills holy land. But the work continues. In 1941, Gutzon Borglum died suddenly, just months before completion. His son, Lincoln Borglum, takes over and finishes what his father started. On October 31st, 1941, with the world at war and America about to enter World War II, Mount Rushmore was officially declared complete. It's not quite what Borglum envisioned. He wanted to carve the presidents down to their waists, including a massive hall of records behind them. But money and time ran out. What stands is just the heads. And somehow, that's perfect. 4 faces, 4 leaders, 60 feet tall, staring out across America. Over the following decades, Mount Rushmore became iconic. It's in movies, on postcards, in textbooks. 3 million people visit every year. Love it or hate it, there's no denying the sheer audacity of it. Someone looked at a mountain and said, "I'm going to carve presidents into that," and then actually did it. Today, Mount Rushmore is complicated. It represents American achievement and innovation. but it's also carved into land sacred to the Lakota people, land taken from them after gold was discovered in the Black Hills. That complexity matters. History isn't simple. Monuments aren't simple. But standing beneath those four faces, looking up at something humans created by sheer will and dangerous labor, you feel something. Whether it's pride, awe, or discomfort, it makes you think about legacy, about what we choose to remember, about the stories we carve in stone. 400 workers risked their lives for 14 years. They drilled 450,000 tons of rock off that mountain. And on Halloween 1941, they stepped back and said, "We're done." Not perfect, not uncontroversial, but done. And still standing, still making people stop and stare, more than 80 years later. Have you visited Mount Rushmore? What did you think when you saw it in person? Or maybe you've been to other massive monuments, the Statue of Liberty, the Crazy Horse Memorial, the Gateway Arch? Share your experience in the comments below. I'd love to hear what these larger-than-life landmarks meant to you. If these stories about ambitious dreamers who literally changed the landscape fascinate you, then hit that subscribe button and join the History Sparks community. We're exploring the bold, controversial, and inspiring moments when humans attempted the impossible and somehow pulled it off. New episodes every day. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next Spark of History.